In Bethesda, Maryland yesterday, only a few miles from where 6 people were gunned down this week, there was a brave effort by frightened people to reclaim their lives.
Can't quit living just because some nut's out there.
What was on your mind as you came out today?
As a matter of fact, I actually suppressed the notion of the shootings entirely in order to enjoy myself.
It was called A Taste of Bethesda, a chance to sample the town's various restaurants. But for some, like Susan Kim and her family, there was something else on the menu: fear.
So we're all kind of looking out behind our shoulder once in a while just to check out the environment, check out the situation.
This suburban Washington community has been living a nightmare. It began Wednesday evening in a parking lot where a man was gunned down as he headed into a supermarket. Early the next morning, another man was killed just a few miles away as he mowed a lawn. A half hour later, a woman at a gas pump turned to see a taxi driver stumble into her minivan and fall to the ground, shot in the chest. Then a woman sitting on a bench outside a post office collapsed, shot in the head. As police rushed to help, one more bullet, and a young mother vacuuming out her car at another gas station lay dead. Hours later, just over the border in the District of Columbia, an elderly man stepped out for an evening walk. As he stood on a street corner, a single bullet struck and killed him. In little more than a day, 6 bullets, 6 murders.
We strongly feel that all of these are connected. Certainly, the weaponry seems to be very similar.
Investigators believe that in each case, a single .223 caliber bullet fired from a high-powered rifle found its mark.
It usually goes in small, and the devastation that they're designed to do could be significant.
Death is no stranger inside the Beltway. For some time, the nation's capital was known as the nation's murder capital. But there's relative peace and a sense of security in the suburbs. No more. But why? The victims were men, women, different ages, different races. They didn't appear to know each other. What was the link behind the killings? What was the motive?
The thrill is in the killing itself. The thrill is in being able to carry it off, to be this predator, and then also to elude police and to avoid detection and apprehension. So
for 30 years, Greg McCrary worked for the FBI, profiling killers. He thinks the shooter, or shooters, at loose in the Washington suburbs is enjoying himself.
It's all about power and control and playing God, having the power of life and death over other individuals, and then being, in their mind, smart or cunning enough to avoid detection and apprehension. So this individual is really on a high at this point.
They are called spree killers, and it's not a new phenomenon, just a rare one. In 1997, Andrew Cunanan is thought to have killed 5 people in a cross-country rampage, including fashion designer Johnny Versace. Hiding out in a Florida houseboat, he killed himself as police closed in.
There's another shot and another shot.
In 1966, Charles Whitman killed 16 people and wounded 30 others from his sniper's position atop the University of Texas Tower in Austin.
It's a battle now. It's a battle between the sniper and the police.
Like the killings this past week, he used a high-powered rifle.
Certainly killing from a distance is far more of a cold, emotionless sort of shooting. Some killers enjoy the confrontation. They enjoy the look of fear in the victim's eyes, and they seek that out. They want that personal look, that direct confrontation. This is a colder, more emotionless, clearly, in my opinion, a psychopath, more psychopathic individual, no guilt, no remorse.
As they try to piece together a mindset and a motive, what police know is that the killings all took place within a 5-mile area, likely an area the killer knows well. But with a dragnet closing in on his home community, has he gone further afield? About an hour's drive away, the driver of this minivan stopped at a Virginia craft store Friday afternoon. As she stood in the parking lot, she was shot in the back and badly hurt. Montgomery County Police Chief Charles Moose.
The forensic evidence has shown us that their case, their shooting, is linked to the Montgomery County shooting, linked to the D.C. shooting.
In the shaken Maryland community, the time for mourning has begun. Tributes to the dead, prayers in their memory. But there is also a strong sense that more will grieve, for this is also a time of menace. A killer is on the loose, and police feel it is unlikely he is finished.
New York.
In the serial snipers case, after some delay, the federal government weighed in today. Federal prosecutors filed their first charges that carry the death penalty. And they revealed some of the evidence against the two suspects in the string of shootings that killed 10 people and wounded 3 others. CBS's Jim Stewart has more tonight about that and the government's strategy.
With more states lining up to take a crack at executing him, the federal government whisked John Allen Muhammad into court this afternoon to outline its own set of charges against him. Muhammad seemed at ease, smiling at his public defenders and answering yes, sir, in a loud voice when asked if he understood the charges, one of which could bring the death penalty. Later, his lawyer said the U.S. Army veteran had faith in the courts.
Mr. Muhammad and his lawyers still trust this system of justice. Please let it work.
Along with federal prosecutors, 4 states are now trying to get their hands on Muhammad and his sidekick John Lee Malvo. Alabama has a murder case, so do Virginia and Maryland, and Washington State has joined in, saying Muhammad is a suspect in a slaying there as well. Attorney General John Ashcroft pushed for federal involvement because he wants to make sure the death penalty is an option.
It's important that we have available the very most serious penalties in a setting like this.
But who gets to try them first is still up in the air as prosecutors race before the cameras to outline an ever-growing list of charges. More than one analyst has observed that whoever gets the case may become a household face.
All prosecutors want to be first to go to trial in a high-profile case because they know the nation, the world, and their local constituents are going to be watching.
Meanwhile, authorities disclosed an intriguing list of items found in or near the suspect's car, which apparently served not only as their occasional home, but as a shooting platform as well. Recovered were a military-style backpack with a global positioning system inside, several driver's licenses in different names, but all bearing Muhammad's photograph, a laptop computer, and a pair of two-way radios.
The fight over who prosecutes is already taking a toll on investigators who complain they can't finish their work until the lawyers finish bickering. Dan.
Jim Stewart reporting live from Washington. Thanks. We know more tonight about the nursing. Reed will be sentenced in January. In and around Washington, D.C. tonight, federal, state, and local authorities are pressing their hunt for whoever ambushed and killed at least 5 people and possibly more since Wednesday evening. Maryland investigators say it may be the work of a team, a sharpshooter, and a getaway driver. CBS's Joey Chen in Maryland has the latest. Joey?
Dan, fears that the killing spree is not over are underscored by 2 more shootings that police are now looking into. Now, late this afternoon, a woman was shot and wounded at a suburban shopping mall about 60 miles southwest of Montgomery County. It is the second incident at a Michael's Crafts store. Police are also looking into last night's shooting death of an elderly man just across the border in Washington. And there are other reasons for the anxiety here as well.
A particular weapon could be used for target shooting, possibly hunting.
Investigators today brought out an array of high-powered weapons to demonstrate the type of firearm which might have been used. Any of these rifles, or dozens more like them, could have fired the .223 caliber rounds. Ballistic tests will reveal exactly what kind it was. But police are fairly certain that the shooter is a well-trained marksman who gunned down his victims from a distance.
The closer you are, the less expertise you would need. The further away you are, the more expertise it would probably take.
So far, the big break hasn't come. SWAT teams returned to some areas near the crime scenes today and again search vehicles that fit the only vague description they have. Investigators have called in a psychological profile expert to help understand the killer's motive and a geographical profiler to spot anything in the location of the shooting scattered over a 4-mile radius that may yield some clue.
Is there a pattern? Is there something trying to be accomplished from the way it looks on the map? Are they familiar with the area? Are they simply just doing this in a random fashion?
And there are other unanswered questions as well, including when did the killing spree really begin? Police are now looking into records over the last several weeks to find out if there are any other cases that might be linked to what happened here. Dan?
Joey Chen live in Rockville, Maryland. Turning to Iraq.